I'm Jason Garrison with CincyJungle.com. I'm here with Cincinnati Enquirer's Bengals beat writer Joe Reedy. Joe, what do you think the Bengals' biggest draft needs are this year?
Well, I think when you look at Jason's safety, obviously, I think after Reggie Nelson, there's a drop-off and a ton of youth. I think outside linebacker, I think we'll see him re-sign Thomas Howard, but I think they've got to get some depth there. I think offensive line, offensive tackle, depending on what happens with Andre Smith, could be a possibility. And I think a second running back. You got 2 free agents. You need that change of pace guy, and I think you're going to overpay in free agency, but there's some good guys in rounds 2 through 4.
Okay. When you mentioned safety, I know you said there's kind of a significant drop-off after Reggie Nelson. Do you think Taylor Mays has the potential to start at strong safety, or do you think that's pretty much over and done with at this point?
I think this year is going to be a telling year, and if he doesn't, then he's in the last year of his deal when you move on. But I think when you look at the entire secondary, there's a lot of young guys there, but there's not a lot of proven guys there. And I think normally I'm not one for drafting safety in the first round, but I think with a kid like Matt Elam, Kenny Vaccaro, Jonathan Cyprian from Florida International, certainly some good names in the first 2 rounds.
Okay. What are some of the players that impressed you here at the Combine when it comes to running backs?
I've liked Jonathan Franklin since I've seen him in Senior Bowl, ran the 4th fastest time in a 40. I think you like him. The more I get to watch Eddie Lacy, I'm impressed by him. I just think at 21 he's a bit of a reach right now, but the Giovanni Bernard kid, very good. And I think he adds a little bit of a return element, too, that would definitely help down the line. So those 3 guys, and then, Miguel Masonette, the kid out of Stony Brook, is a pretty good option. So I think there's some decent ways you can go, especially with 3 picks in the first 2 rounds.
Okay. Now, when it comes to a second running back, do you think they're just looking for a guy to complement Ben Jarvis Green Ellis or eventually replace him as well?
No, I mean, he's in the second year of 3 years, Jason, and I know a lot of people were down on Green Ellis, but second half of the year, the thing people got to remember about the running game is you had 2 new guards, you had a new center come in after the 3rd preseason game, new running back who really only played 1 series because he got hurt, and then Scott gets injured. That was a plan that really there wasn't any stability until November, and I think what Green Ellis did, particularly the second half of the season, was very impressive. Now, is he a guy who you expected to get 85% of the running back carries at the beginning of last season? No, not hardly. But I think you get another maybe physical back between the tackles, get a good Darren Sproles type maybe. I think that's a pretty good mix. But, Benny's in the second year of a 3-year deal. But with what he did last year, especially the 3rd and 1, 13 out of 14. Cedric Benson didn't do that. And I think that was the one thing as far as red zone and short yardage we really wanted to see, and he gave him that.
Okay. Now, when it comes to linebackers, I know you said you think they'll re-sign Thomas Howard, which probably means they'll move Vontaze Burfict to the middle to replace Ray Maluga. Even if they do re-sign Maluga, do you think Burfict starts in the middle next year?
I think it's wait and see. I talked to Mike Zimmer earlier today, and he's like, kind of be careful what you wish for, because 2 years ago when Dhani Jones left, everybody's like, yeah, Ray Maluga finally gets a move in the middle. And Ray was pretty solid at Sam, so I just remember training camp last year where even Maluga was saying Burfict was so ahead of him at middle linebacker at this point, but a second-year guy, put him in the leadership. I mean, we could see Maluga at Sam, Burfict in the middle, and Howard at will, and I think people would be happy because the thing to remember about Sam this past year is only 1/3 of the snaps a Sam linebacker was on the field. And Manny Lawson, there was a significant drop-off. I don't expect him to be back. But the Sam guy is kind of, depending on what you need and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Dante Moak, we still don't know. There's some pretty decent outside linebacker candidates. I think Teo's an outside backer in a 4-3 unless he can really prove it. I still think it's a little too much of a risk, but I know they talked to him Saturday night and seemed pretty happy with what they did. But I think you got to look. I think you got to look at an outside guy and go that way. And there's some decent outside linebacker candidates. If they got Alec Ogletree at 21, that might be a good option too.
What do you think about Arthur Brown?
Arthur Brown, I like him. I don't know if he's that much of a blitzing guy, but I think he maybe kind of fits their scheme as far as what they're looking for in a Sam, and maybe possibly a Will. And I think that's the key with Thomas Howard. After the knee injury, do you just sign him to a 1-year deal or based on what he did in 2011, do you sign him to a 2 to 3 year deal? I think that's one of the biggest questions right now.
Okay. Last question for you. I know that Mohamed Sanu really came on strong before he got injured, and he looked like he might plug that number two wide receiver hole. Do you think he's going to be the number 2 wide receiver as long as he's healthy in 2013, or do you think they may still look to bring in a new guy in the draft or free agency?
I'd like to see the top 4 get on the field all at the same time, which we didn't see last year, because I think Sanu, you can interchange him at 2 and 3. Marvin Jones, you can interchange him 2 and 4. Hawkins, you can exchange it. You can interchange at 3 and 4. So I'd like to see all 4 of them get on the field. I mean, the one thing I'd like to see, and it's not out of the realm of possibility, is for a 5th wide receiver, depending on what happens with Pac-Man, depending on his value and what he's looking for, do you go out and get a Josh Cribbs to help kind of jumpstart that return game and keep Josh in a division? I know Darren Simmons has loved him since 2005, but I think maybe as far as that 5th, 6th receiver, Sanzenbacher, we don't know what he can do. Ryan Whalen, now's the time for him. But if you can get a decent veteran, or depending on what you can get in the draft, maybe in the late rounds, that's a possibility.
All right, thanks a lot, Joe.
Thank you.